Letter from Ellie Peck. Dear Professor Howen, I would be more than happy to take any excess puffskein hair from you. I could collect it when I next make a delivery to the castle. Sounds as if you have plenty for your classroom needs. Perhaps you might even have time for a cup of tea. A little bird told me that you once encountered an okami. I can't say I'd mind hearing about that. I once encountered a young Welsh green when I was collecting toad hide in the west. Of course, it could have been a baby wyvern. Hard to tell at that age. Anyway, not for the faint of heart, is it? This life with magical beasts. Looking forward to your response, Ellie Peck. Letter from Imelda Reyes. Dear Madam Kogawa, I'm writing to do with Professor Black's decision to cancel Quidditch. As you know, joining a professional Quidditch team is my utmost dream, and I believe my chances will now be ruined, or at least significantly thwarted. Professor Weasley insists that we must defer to the headmaster, and she encouraged me to practice on my own. I have devised some challenging trials for myself, but it's not at all the same as practicing on the pitch. Nothing is. Please could I ask that you speak to the headmaster or to Professor Weasley? I shall be miserable my whole life if I can't play Quidditch properly for this entire year. Thank you, Professor. Imelda Reyes. Not sure if it's Reyes or Rise. She is Scottish. Okay, next is a letter from Professor Shaw's sister. My dear Satyavati, you'll be pleased to hear that I received word from my contacts at Cambridge, who conceded that they had in fact been incorrect in their understanding of meteor showers. It seems that an Irish astronomer and a British astronomer both built upon the work done by an Italian astronomer. All muggles, mind you, as far as I know, to propose calculating the position of the dust at Earth's orbit as means of connecting meteors to comets. Brilliant, really. One can only imagine what they might do with an enchanted telescope. Frustratingly, in my correspondence, I did feel that I had to continue using the pseudonym from my days as a gentleman scholar. Whilst I still find it rather exciting to have a secret identity, the reason irks me. I am so looking forward to our trip later this year to Jantar Mantar. What an adventure we shall have. I miss you, dear sister, and do hope you are well. With love, Sukrita. A letter from Professor Weasley. Mudiwa Onai, under Professor Black's direction, it is my honor as Deputy Headmistress to offer you the position of Divination Professor at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. We are thrilled at the prospect of having you join our distinguished faculty. Please inform us of your intentions as soon as possible. I eagerly await your response. Warmest regards, Professor Matilda Weasley. another letter from Professor Weasley. Dear Madam Kogawa, marvelous news that you will be joining the faculty at Hogwarts as our new flying instructor. I dare say our work together at Hogwarts will be less eventful than our time near Yokohama Harbor, though one never knows. I shall look forward to seeing you soon. If you have any questions in the meantime, please do not hesitate to send me an owl. Warm regards, Matilda Weasley. Next is a letter from Professor Weasley's brother. Darling sister, delighted to receive your recent owl. Sounds as if you are, as usual, rising to the challenges presented by not only the students, but also a certain headmaster. Your patience knows no bounds. Speaking of patience, thank you for all that you've done for Gareth. Your instincts are sharp indeed. A delicate balance of discipline and creative encouragement is all he needs. I confess I'm glad that his fellow students have replaced his own family when it comes to trying out his latest brews. Marvelous how he spins it. You're the first lucky ones. It never mentions the possibility of untoward reactions. Well, I must be off. Apologies for the short note. Seems the youngest has got herself into a bit of a predicament. Tossed a garden gnome into the neighbor's dirigible plums. Again. Anyway, hope to see you at the holidays. Sending my love, G. Letter from Ronan's wife. My darling Abraham, you would be overjoyed to know that the local children have taken to playing gobstones in the street just outside of your study window. They're quite charming, I must say. I noticed the youngest was without her own set of gobstones, so I lent her one of yours. I knew you wouldn't mind. I do hope things are going well at the castle. I'm relieved that you arrived safely. Dreadful story about that gentleman from the ministry. Was he really traveling with Eleazar and a student? Simply dreadful. Do write when you have a moment. I'm most eager to hear stories of this year's Summoner's Court participants. Your students so adore you, my dear. With love, M. A letter from Serona Ryan. Dear Mirabel, my dear Dot has been asking after you. Perhaps I can convince her to stop in for a butterbeer or two if you were to join us. It's been far too long. When you do manage to come by, I wonder if you'd be able to part with a few of your plants. The more fragrant ones. Ever since the troll attack, customers have been complaining about the smell of, believe it or not, old socks. Nothing I've tried seems to cover the stench. Hope to see you soon, with or without the plants. Your friend, Serona. Next is a letter from Tarek to Ada, one of two. My dearest Ada, I pine for you, my love. Each day we spend apart wears at my soul. We must find a way to meet soon. If we were to apparate to each other, where could we meet? I know that I am not welcome at your family's home in Marenweem. I have been speaking with the Cragcroft locals lately about the increased goblin presence here by the shore. They say Ranrock's loyalists may be seeking remnants of work left behind by a legendary wizard who lived here long ago. A man from the east, like me. This intrigued me. Apparently he had some secret work in the nearby mountain. It sounds as though this could be a perfect meeting space for us. I have an idea. This Thursday evening at dusk, will you apparate to the western side of the mountain? Aim for one of the vaults that the locals use to store their valuables. We should be safe from prying eyes there. It feels like only yesterday that we finished Hogwarts together. Two children with stars in their eyes and love in their hearts. Promise me that we will rediscover those stars in our eyes and forever protect that love in our hearts. My love always, Tarek. Letter from Tarek to Ada, 2 of 2. My dearest Ada, first I must know, are you all right? What a disaster our rendezvous was. I'm truly sorry for all of this. It was wonderful to see you in person after all this time. I just cannot believe how quickly those foul goblin loyalists became aware of our presence and set upon us. They seem to possess some kind of dark magic that I do not understand. It is a relief that you were able to disapparate quickly. I stayed and dealt with as many as I could, but left soon after. Why have these goblins taken over this area? What is it they are looking for? I know one thing, soon no one will be safe here. My love, we spoke briefly of eloping. Have you given any more thought to it? It seems as if the time for such drastic action may be approaching. We must go somewhere new, so that we might start fresh. I have heard of small magical communities in Norway, some in Spain as well. I care not where we go, as long as I am with you. Send me your response with the fastest owl. I must know that you are all right, and I must know whether you are ready and truly willing to elope. My love always, Tarek. A letter from Ursula Black. Dear Phineas, the children have been asking about your return. Belvina in particular chooses to do so each day at breakfast, and is engulfed in a sulk when I remind her that you are ensuring the quality of her future education. Sirius and Phineas rarely send me an owl, although when they do, they never mention you. I'm certain they're proud of you and all that you're doing for Hogwarts. Having one's father as headmaster is tremendous honor. Merlin, help me. Cygnus is now crawling and follows Arcturus about like an unwelcome shadow. Arcturus is begging for an invisibility potion, and frankly, I can't blame him. I'd be tempted to brew one if it weren't for the eternal sniveling that Cygnus would regale me with. Perhaps we shall see you during the next school holiday, but please don't feel any obligations. We can manage. Ursula. Letter to Black from the Minister. Professor Black, regarding your letter dated the 20th of September, I shall not reconsider the admissions process at Hogwarts. Regards, Ferris Spavin, Minister of Magic, London. Letter to Fig from Black. Professor Fig, as if my schedule wasn't congested enough, the Ministry has charged me with arranging the rather inconvenient arrival of a new student at Hogwarts, a 5th year if you can believe. Professor Weasley insists that they will need an escort and a mentor to help them acclimatize before term begins. I have assigned the task to you. Please see Professor Weasley for details. Professor Phineas Nigellus Black, Headmaster. A letter to Fig from the Minister. Professor Fig, I am in receipt of your most recent owl. Apologies for the delay in my response. I am still receiving a good deal of correspondence regarding the introduction of the not-so-recent stooging penalty in Quidditch, which, in my humble opinion, has brought the game into the modern age. Astonishing, frankly, how many spectators want nothing less than seeing Quidditch keepers flattened entirely. As to the topic of your recent letter, we at the Ministry assure you that any and all potential threats to wizard kind are taken quite seriously. I have made note of your concerns, and inasmuch as time allows, the Department of Magical Law Enforcement will ensure that the matter is looked into, schedule permitting. We value the opinions of esteemed wizards such as yourself, and you may rest assured that we have matters well in hand. Should you wish, I can have my secretary secure seats for yourself and a guest in this year's Quidditch final. I think you would be delighted to see the results of a well-run and efficient government. Warmest regards, Ferris Spavin, Minister of Magic. A letter to Weasley from the Minister. Dear Professor Weasley, thank you for your owl. I am overjoyed to hear that this most recent crop of 7th years includes a number of students who may be both interested in and well suited for a career at the Ministry. Of course, their owls, OWLs, will provide confirmation of the latter, but equally invaluable to our recruitment process is your opinion. You have a unique perspective given your experience with us, and for that I am truly grateful. I look forward to further updates as the term progresses. Respectfully yours, Ferris Spavin, Minister of Magic, London. A love letter. My dearest Apollonia, would you care to join me for a picnic? I know you enjoy a good Cornish pasty almost as much as you enjoy a good mystery. See you soon, I hope. Yours, Richard. Mary's journal page. I finally found the perfect place to breed my spider colony, and it was quite literally under my nose the whole time. My cellar. Why didn't I think of this before? Why hasn't anyone, for that matter? My spiders are growing big and strong, and the silk they produce will make me a fortune. I'll have wealth at last. No more scrimping on frocks when I'm in town. It will be marvelous. Mary's note. H. I have delivered the spider venom as requested. Prompt payment is now due. The new cluster of spiderlings in my cellar workshop have almost hatched. I can provide more venom soon, once of course I have been compensated for the last delivery. Mary Portman. Ministry Memorandum. Memorandum, date 31st of December 1875, from Order Office. Subject, Borgin and Burkes. Borgin and Burkes has had an increased amount of activity outside of ordinary shop hours, particularly in the wee hours of the night, with suspicious deliveries being made to the shop's back entrance. Given what we know of the shop's reputation, we are adding more aurors to join those that have already been watching the shop. You are amongst the new additions. Further instruction to follow. A couple of Noctua Gaunt notes. I guess I missed the last one, which is kind of annoying. Sorry about that. This is the first of 5 entries. I must prove my point. We do not need to use the dark arts as my family instructs. When I reach the scriptorium, I will find evidence that there is more to Salazar Slytherin than we realize. I have written to my brother. He now knows how I access the corridor's entrance, and that there is no straight path to reach the scriptorium. It's a maze with many challenges to solve. I hope that my brother will follow my lead, and we can study our ancestors' legacy together. Noctua Gaunt. Entry number 2. Salazar Slytherin buried the scriptorium deep within Hogwarts. I'm afraid I shall lose my way around these dark corridors. I am a descendant, and yet I feel unwelcome. Lighting these braziers in the corridor is helping. I shan't lose heart. Challenge by challenge, I will make my way through. Noctua Gaunt. And the third one. I failed the dial, and it struck my face as if it were a real serpent. But I must find a way forward for my family's sake. We should not require children to conform to old traditions. The scriptorium must have proof that there is more to our legacy than meets the eye. Noctua Gaunt. And the fourth and the last one I have. Extraordinary. This journey is painful but rewarding. I shall soon find the scriptorium and discover untold secrets regarding our house founder. Salazar Slytherin intended more than what we've become. I know it. Noctua Gaunt. Note. Mudblood. I forget where I found this, but I wish I remembered. Note celebrating defeat of rampant Dugbog. Thank Merlin, the rampant Dugbog is no more. Some brave soul finally put it to rest, and now we can have some peace. I doubt there has been such an affliction upon the land since the reign of Emmerich the Evil. Note from Madame Kogawa. Dear Dinah, I know you are as disappointed as any regarding the cancellation of this year's Quidditch season. Despite my repeated efforts, I cannot seem to convince the headmaster to reverse his decision, even if it were for a shorter period of time. Might I impose upon you to reach out to him? It occurred to me that perhaps hearing from someone from his school years, someone alongside whom he may have once cheered for a match or two, well, I thought it could possibly sway him. Yours gratefully, Gio. Note from Miriam. Eleazar, you were right about the bow truckles. I owe you a knot. Nut, probably. Miriam. Note from Professor Sharp. Professor Hecat. As discussed, I have corresponded with my goblin acquaintances at Gringotts. All have condemned Ranrock's actions, and some have privately considered that his motives may not be what they seem. From what I have heard of his treatment towards others of his own kind, those who refuse to join his ranks, I am inclined to agree with our friends at the bank. I will let you know what more I hear. Suffice it to say that for now we must remain vigilant. Respectfully, Aesop Sharp. Note from Tobbs. Master, if you find Tobbs's body, the big spider was too much. Tobbs has failed you and deserves his punishment. Tobbs feels weak, sleepy. Tobbs must... Note from Violet. Violet, if you get here before me, do us a favor and procure some more mead, would you? I believe one of the fellows hanging in the third floor corridor has another frame somewhere with a nice supply. Note to Professor Binns. Professor Binns, I must say I was baffled by your recent observation that students, in your opinion, seem to be rather lethargic. I can confidently say that I have not seen evidence of such lethargy in my own class. I even took it upon myself to speak with some students in the hope of getting to the bottom of this anomaly. Upon this, I soon learned that you have been lecturing them on the little-known facts of historical conflicts. Perhaps you might think of moving more swiftly through the finer details. One of them was almost in tears, describing a test question pertaining to Grimbold Weft and the number of buttons found on the wizard's garment in the rebellion of 1752. Apparently, one additional button above the norm had been affixed. It's entirely up to you, but students likely struggle to appreciate such nuances. Only my opinion, of course, and I do hope you don't mind my mentioning. Sincerely, Abraham Ronan. A note to Professor Black. From Madame Scribner. Professor Black, might I suggest a ban on magic in the library? Someone has been sneaking into the restricted section, and Cressida Bloom seems to think of the library as her own personal arena in which to practice her latest incantations. It is most disruptive. One might consider Peeves tame by comparison to such antics. Panicked poacher note. Astrid, keep an eye on my stash, eh? It's yours if I mysteriously disappear. That liar cheated us out of what was ours, so I took what I could and hid it there. No, and hid it here. 20 damn years and treated no better than fools who've been here 2 blasted weeks. Manfred. Fotine's first note. Mr. Wuthering, I'm writing to you in the hopes that when you look for me and cannot find me, you will know why. We found the tomb where we were to retrieve the family's treasure, but the moment we did so, Thena animated the bodies that lay within and turned them on me. I suspect that she wants to keep the treasure for herself. I will try and hold off the Inferi as best I can. Fotine. Fotine's second note. Mr. Wuthering, if I do not make it, I urge you to look through all of mine and Thena's curse-breaking assignments. If Thena's betrayal today is any indication, I suspect she may have been keeping a portion of all the treasure we found and only reporting a fraction of it to Gringotts. Fotine. And Fotine's third note. Mr. Wuthering, I can hear the Inferi that Thena summoned drawing closer. It has been an honor to work for Gringotts as a curse breaker. I should have noticed that Thena could no longer be trusted. She was my partner after all. I hope you will forgive me for falling short in that regard. Please tell my family that I died fighting. Fotine. Poacher's inventory list. Delivery. 4 times jobbernalls, be cautious. 3 times needles, clever and meaner than they look, watch the claws. 5 times giant purple toads, always wear gloves when handling. 1 times thestral, no, you lot can see it. 2 question mark times hippogriffs, have a lead on where to get a pair. 0 times phoenix, where. Potions shop list. Talk to Pippin about the below. How fitting it would be if the key to my cure lay in the obscure. Granian hair, Angelica, wormwood essence, plangentine, spleenwort. Quidditch injury records. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Hospital Wing, attending healer, Nurse Noreen Bailey. Patient name, redacted by order of Professor Black. Age, redacted by order of Professor Black. Notes. The patient was injured during a Quidditch match, though, in my professional opinion, redacted by order of Professor Black, hardly counts as an injury. In fact, if anyone was injured, it was me, as I do not believe I've ever rolled my eyes quite so hard in my life. It is a wonder I can even see to write this note. Rather unbelievably, or indeed despicably, the headmaster now wants to cancel Quidditch, all because a pure blood, redacted by order of Professor Black, went and, redacted by order of Professor Black, before the snitch was even in sight. When I pressed the headmaster slightly, I was told, redacted by order of Professor Black. Staggering. Receipt for personal items. Receipt: hair tonic, mustache wax, Bundeman pomade, comb pearl handled, back scratcher gold handled, doxicide. Paid in very small part, remainder to be billed to ministry. Ronan's lesson plan. Possible classroom games. Levitation lesson. Encourage students to levitate blocks through raised hoops or similar. Disarm and dodge. Hone Expelliarmus and reflexes. Targets on a tangent. Back to basics with casting practice on targets enchanted to move quickly. Roland Oak's journal. Ranrock's lot agreed to meet, but I do feel a tad uneasy. They amended their requests and were angry when I asked questions. I overheard some of their plan in gobbledygook. They're after my rare metal deposits that are suitable for drilling. I'm afraid of upsetting them further. They seem rather volatile, and I need this transaction to happen. Perhaps we can work out a compromise, perhaps not. Roland Oakes. A Slytherin's diary entry. I fear we shall never come to an accord. I cannot persuade even one of them to listen to reason. I had dared hope that Godric's thoughts were aligned with my own, that he understood why the caliber of student needed to be exceptional. But he has fallen prey to the ridiculous notion that Muggleborns are somehow as capable as purebloods. He was furious when I expressed my displeasure at his thoughts on the matter, thoughts he had not yet put voice to. I tire of the discords and can no longer bear witness to the corridors full of inept children masquerading as witches and wizards. It is with heavy heart that I now know I must go from here. I shall place the creature into a deep sleep in its own chamber until it can be awakened by one who shares my views. A descendant willing to reverse the damage that the others have so carelessly wrought. One who shall rid the school of those unworthy of Hogwarts that would serve only to stain my legacy. Student summary. Student report. The Calicom assignment yielded more than I'd imagined. Learning about our ancestors was illuminating. However, I stumbled upon something else I could not ignore. In an area behind the great room which had suffered decay, amid the turned-over sarcophagi, I discovered an oddly shaped relic. Immediately, I sensed its power. I would be thrilled to study the relic further, if only the removal of objects were allowed. The Thistle and the Badge, Part 1 of 3. The Thistle and the Badge, Helen Thistlewood, Reflections of a Former Horror. Retirement isn't what I expected. I enjoy the leisure time, of course, but I do miss the excitement of hunting magical fugitives. I know you're not supposed to admit that you actually enjoy the turmoil associated with the job, but how can you feel anything other than exhilaration when chasing a Ukrainian iron belly through a Muggle city, and then obliviating all of the Muggles who saw you? Or foiling a dark wizard's plot to take over the ministry with an army of Chinese chomping cabbages, using only a single basket of bouncing bulbs. When the ministry finally makes all of my old cases public, my neighbors will never look at me the same way again. Old Madam Thistlewood down the lane is the one who put that nasty brute so-and-so in Azkaban. For now I can merely insinuate, lest I divulge something confidential. I would hate to force my former colleagues into locking me away in Azkaban. Not an appealing thought. Well, I suppose I should check on my garden. The bluebells have been struggling this season. Thistle and the Badge, Part 2. I have a lot of time these days to reflect upon my career. I wonder if the good we did balances out the mistakes we made along the way. Did we always catch our criminals? No. Did we sometimes put away the wrong person? It's possible. Is that an acceptable risk when it comes to preserving the well-being of the wizarding world at large? I'd like to think so, but then again, I'm not an innocent witch mouldering away in Azkaban. If I were, then perhaps I should feel differently. It is a quandary without a solution, or at least not one that I am likely to solve. This is the problem with retirement. It leaves one with too much time to dwell upon bygone problems, but there's nothing one can do about it. Oh, and my bluebells died. And Part 3. I am still dwelling upon my big hypothetical from the other day. I always made certain that I could defend my decisions before the Wizengamot, should the need arise. I was required to do this on rare occasions, and it was never a pleasant experience, no matter how confident I was. Despite what some believe, the ministry is far from omnipotent, and when I hung up my badge, I left behind quite a few unsolved cases. If I had all the time in the world, I doubt I could solve them all. But should the opportunity arise to revisit one and correct any mistakes I made, I will certainly take it. That's the only way to rest easy about my career. Never hesitate to fix mistakes, especially if they are yours to begin with. I fear that in our haste to mete out justice, we may inadvertently become the vehicle for injustice. I fear this especially for myself. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. Oh, and I'm through with gardening. I need a new hobby. Okay, just a few more. Tobbs' note. Master. If you are looking for Tobbs, it seems he has dried up all the leeches here and must move deeper into the cave. Tobbs hopes Master will wait for him to return. It's much too dangerous for Master to follow. And please be careful of the spiders. Tobbs. Vanishing Sickness Records. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Hospital Wing. Attending healer, Nurse Noreen Bailey. Patient name Tasmina McLagan, or so we assume. Age 13. Notes. The patient stumbled in without a head. After a head count of the dorms and absolutely no assistance from the headmaster, we concluded that the student was most likely Tasmina McLagan. Despite the obvious communication challenges, I was able to discern that the poor girl was suffering from vanishing sickness. I recommended that she be sent to St. Mungo's at once, partly owing to the time-sensitive nature of the diagnosis, and partly because the nearly headless Nick was floating around moaning on and on about how very lucky she was. He was most distracting, and if he disrupts my dealings with future headless students, I shall have no choice but to ask the headmaster to intervene. Addendum. I'm told that the patient is recovering and can be expected to return to the castle soon. Of no particular significance, Nick now seems to be avoiding me. One might assess that he's steeping himself in a somewhat childish sulk. Warning of a rampant dug bog. We have a monster in our midst. If you see a bit of driftwood in the swamps, don't assume it to be kindling. It's likely the fiercest dug bog this hamlet has ever seen. Remain alert and keep away from it. Your concerned neighbor. And the last note. Wizarding Crackers Notice. Reminder to staff. The Hogwarts house elves do an exceptional job of keeping the castle in order. They are seldom unprepared for any number of items that they might encounter each day. However, only the other day, an unexpected stash of wizarding crackers went off from behind a cushion. The cacophony was most untoward, engulfing one poor elf in blue smoke, and giving those of us nearby an abominable ringing in our ears for the rest of the day. I expect that the culprit was Peeves. Please keep an eye out and be careful. Matilda Weasley, Deputy Headmistress. Okay, that is all the letters and notes. Took much longer than I expected. Next up will be probably the Revelio pages, because those seem the most interesting to me. Although there's a lot of them, so we'll probably have to split that in a few videos as well. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching and for listening. And I will talk to you next time. Bye bye.